I'm Rachel and I'm surrounded by plants, which normally makes me happy, but these ones, not so much. This is Planting Curiosity, and today we're talking about invasive plants. This forest might look healthy. You've got trees, lots of green understory, everything you'd expect. But something's feeling off. There isn't much plant diversity, and it feels kind of eerie. Why? Well, this forest is being taken over. Let me show you.
Look how thick and matted this English ivy is. It's just completely taking over this area. How could you expect anything to be able to grow in this and survive?
It spreads fast, forms dense mats, and climbs and chokes trees. And they aren't the only invasive species around. This is Scotch broom. Its thick, woody growth crowds out native plants and can increase the intensity of wildfires. Its seeds are viable for around 30 to 80 years, so one patch can need many, many years of management. Daphne loves to take over by spreading through seed or vegetative shoots. This evergreen shrub is not only invasive, it's also deadly. Its sap is poisonous, so we don't touch it without gloves, and we definitely won't be eating it. I can also see yellow archangel, English holly, and oh look, a baby Scotch broom. Let's pull it out. Got it. So what makes a plant invasive? Well, when a species lands in a new place with the right conditions, they can thrive as they have no local predators and can outcompete native plants, often by growing and reproducing faster. That gives them an unfair edge, and the balance is thrown off. Invasive species are one of the biggest threats to biodiversity, second only to habitat loss. They can wipe out native plants, alter soil, water, and food webs, and even introduce diseases. It costs billions of dollars every year to deal with. Human stewardship is necessary to maintain ecosystem balance. It's been this way for thousands of years. I'm heading to learn from someone who's taking action.
It's Rachel, Sarah Jim Fanasnate, Josalea San at Husainich at the Husaikam Eilalang. So my name is Sarah Jim. I'm from the Jim family in Husainich from the Husaikam village. And I run the Husaikam Ivy project here in Husaikam. And I have had the privilege of running it for the past 4 or 5 years. And we remove invasive species in my homelands of Husaikam.
Why is restoring the land, specifically here, so important?
Before I knew what invasive plants were, I just saw green and nature and it was lovely. But now that I have the lens of how destructive invasive species are, I feel as though this work is a continuation of the stewardship that my ancestors have done since time immemorial. Obviously within a different context, because now we have invasive species we need to manage. But it just is good for everything, and it's a tangible thing that I can do in my lifetime. There's a lot of disempowerment in the world, and this makes me feel as though I have that power. And doing this work not only helps the pollinators, the animals, the land itself, but it also contributes to the health of the people through access to foods, materials, and medicines. This is a really important job to do because there is that colonial fallacy of humans and nature being separate. But really what settlers were seeing when they came to these lands at first was the love and care and stewardship that Indigenous people have been doing for millennia. Working on this project feels overwhelming at times, but the commitment of the volunteers is really inspiring and motivating, and I feel actually really grateful I get to host these days because I've met some of the best people I've met doing restoration.
It's like you're building a community through this work, and then everyone gets energized off one another and motivated to keep going.
I feel like removing ivy is a form of physically decolonizing the land or healing trauma that's happened. So kind of like these ivy days is kind of like going to see a counselor and working through your trauma, and eventually it can get healed, but you're always going to have to revisit and build a relationship with yourself to maintain like a healthy, good mind, but in this metaphor, a healthy land. This restoration work is visually benefiting the land because every spring where there used to be ivy, there's little tiny baby native plants coming up.
Even in this section, there's so many different native species. We have sword ferns, trailing blackberry, and Pacific sanicle. It's incredible to see how an area that was once just a carpet of ivy is now a place where you can see the native biodiversity and all these different species.
Once native plants have the chance to grow, they will. Without the presence of ivy, they're loving it. They're having a great time.
I'm so inspired by the work that you're doing here, but how can everyone get involved in work like this?
I highly recommend getting involved with land restoration or anything within that capacity. You can come out here to the Ivy Project and come help, or there's most likely local not-for-profits or organizations that are hosting invasive pulls.
It's fun to remove. When you pull it, it's amazing how much can actually come out. Like, look at that. That was one pull. It's beautiful. Yeah.
And the sound of it coming out of the earth is just like ASMR.
A lot of the time, invasive species are caused by humans, so we have a responsibility to remove them and help heal these ecosystems. Sarah's project shows that that is possible.